Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go. Welcome to a normal person interview. This one, I gotta tell you, I think this one may be one of the more interesting ones we've ever done, which is not to knock any of the other people we've had on.
Obviously, we love all our normal people. We've picked them specially.
It's just that Nussi's story is so good and so just different, I think, than the vast majority of people who've come before have had. And he lends such a unique perspective, which I really appreciate.
I am so eager to listen to this.
You've heard me talk about him a lot.
Yes.
And he talks about how he found us, but when he gets into something, he gets into something. So he is a really dedicated, I think he still is, but when he first discovered us, he was a super dedicated podcast listener. He went and listened to everything.
He's like a total Firestarter, right?
Well, yeah, he even mentions that in his bio. So do you want to read that? It's very brief. Like him, he just gets to the point.
Okay, here we go. Nussi Einhorn runs his UX design agency in New Jersey. He worked his way up, quote unquote, the ladder, starting with a $13 per hour job. These days, he helps businesses redesign their apps and websites to be more user-friendly. Nussi is a true Firestarter. There you go. You can connect with him on LinkedIn, and we will link to his page where you can go just check the episode description, and you can go find him there.
We talk about that more in the episode, but you guys are going to really like him. He's so funny and just direct, so direct. And I think that once you hear his story, I will be curious to hear what conclusion you have. But my conclusion is that if he can do it, then there's really no excuse you have for not doing it either. Because this is a person who he didn't go to like formal college. He got married really young. He's not even 27 years old, and he has 3 little boys. Okay?
Wow.
And he climbed his way up like from having just like a basic kind of $13 an hour job to being on the corporate ladder, making a lot of money, enough money to support his whole family, and then decided, I can't do this. I've got to quit, and I want to run my own business. So
that's amazing by 27.
I know. I told him in the episode, I'm like, this is what people say when they say the American dream. Like, this is what people are thinking. And so we talk about that. And of course, even though it's a normal person interview, because he's just so chock full of advice and wisdom, and he just tells it like it is. He tells you guys like it is. So
all of our normal people turn into experts in their own way, which is why I love it.
So there's a lot of great job searching, and sort of if you want to make a career transition, there's a lot of great advice in this episode from him.
Cool.
So I hope you enjoy, and we will be back at the end. Hey, how you doing?
Hi there. I'm Nussi. What's up?
Yes, to all of the world, here you are. So, wow. I think it's been about a year since I first met you, which feels like a long time ago.
Yeah, especially with the Corona era. It feels like 3 years.
I know. The past 3 months has felt like 3 years. So you kind of know where I like to start with these normal people interviews. I want to go back to where you were a few years ago, or maybe a couple of years ago, and kind of tell me what your mentality was and what your situation was. And then we'll kind of fast forward to where you are now. But I want to hear the backstory.
Oh, yeah. So it's a fascinating story. Like every individual has their own fascinating stories. So here's my little story. I started out, as a young father, and I was looking for a job. I didn't have any formal education. So I took, a local kind of job, and it was for, $13 an hour. And I didn't even know how to search on Google. I was a real beginner. I knew how to speak English, how to write. I knew, the basics. And, someone took a chance on me. They hired me and I trained over there. I trained to do some websites. I did, basic websites, these like small websites. Has like a homepage, maybe about us page and a contact form. Then I learned, more advanced, how to create designs and how to redesign bigger websites. And then I saw a job listing of someone who's looking for a UX designer. And I decided I declared myself a UX designer and I applied for the job. And the people liked me and they hired me. It was for a big corporation, a growing corporation. And I took a full-time job over there. And I started my, career in UX. I had a team, a manager, and all that kind of stuff. And every year, I got promoted. I was one of the big drivers in my team. I was the one, pushing for the new ideas, the one asking all the hard questions like, why are we doing this? And why don't we do it a better way? I was always questioning things. And, people liked me. They liked, my character over there. They liked my vibes. I was always positive. I always gave off energy to the team. And that was my journey in that company. And then the last year, I was moved over to a different department, to the marketing department. And as I became, I gave more ideas. I became sort of like a manager over there. I was, giving my ideas to people. And it became harder and harder to pursue all the ideas I had. Let's say I had an idea, let's open a podcast, in order for everyone to buy into it, there was a lot of hierarchy. There was the manager, there was the, all these executives that I had to buy into all my creative ideas. And I was starting to feel sort of stifled in terms of that environment. But then in general, I was, doing some searching. I was feeling some unhappiness. I was like restless. I couldn't diagnose what was wrong with me. And, I was searching on Google, listening to podcasts. I listened to every single podcast. And yeah, I bumped into Clarity on Fire. I don't know how. I think it was, I did a Google search. I was like searching, what is my passion? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm just like human being on this world. There's like 17, how many people are there? 17 billion?
No, I think it's closer to like 9. God, if we had 17, we'd be really dead, I think.
There was, yeah, I was like feeling like one in a million here, just like,
right.
At my desk. Like, what am I doing here? Like, what do I want to do? Do I want to open my own business? Do I want to have a, managerial position? Where do I want to go? Because I saw all these opportunities in front of me. I could, work in a corporation for another few years, climb a ladder. I could become this big influencer in the company and be, have a buzzer on my office. I could have like bells. You have to ring the bell before you come into my office. Or I could, be this little freelancer, or I could, do some other stuff. So I was doing, some searching, and I bumped into the profile quiz. That was my first encounter, I think, with your movement. And boy, I took the quiz and I got the PDF. I read the PDF, and it was like the what do you say, the aha moment. It was like every single word on that profile was just like scream. It was like screaming to me. Everything was true. I was like, I've never had to think in my life that someone, like a generated automatic machine can see me so clearly. So that was my like defining moment. And then I just went to the podcast app and I was looking for your podcast to subscribe. And every day on the way to work and on the way home, I listened to Clarity on Fire. So It was a direct journey from the passion profile quiz. That was a Google search. And then I took the quiz. Then I listened to every single podcast, even in the archives. I went crazy, in this situation that I was just talking to me. I listened to you and to Christian, and then I reached out.
So I want to get to that. I want to get to okay, then what happened when we were working together? Also, it is just a very you thing to find a podcast and then go listen to literally everything that they'd ever published. Because when you do something, you don't do it halfway. You do it all in or you're kind of nothing. You got that intensity about you that I've always liked. But I want to go back to and point out some of the things in your story that I find really interesting that I think people will be able to learn from you. So I think if I were listening to this and I didn't know you, I would want to know, okay, how did this guy, because you're such almost like a poster child for the American dream. You're like, I was a young dad. I was making $13 an hour. I barely knew how to use Google. I wasn't technologically masterful. And now, and knowing what I know now about you, just how masterful you are and how you've built a whole career and, have clients and everything in this arena. How does someone go from there to there? And they're going to want to hear more about that part. So I want to know more about, okay, when you were in that job making $13 an hour, what is it that you did to make yourself attractive or leverage yourself or pivot yourself so that that next job took a chance on you? Because they didn't have to do that. So why is it that they did that?
Oh, great question. I want everyone to hear that.
Yeah.
This is one of my pivotal things that I teach other people.
Good.
It was very simple. I decided to be confident and say, yes, I can do it. And then secretly, I'm going to figure things out.
Right. Okay.
That's my trick all along the way, all along my career. That's what I do. Someone tells me, hey, can you design me a mobile app? I never really designed a mobile app. I say, yes, sure. I can do it for you. And boom, I knocked it out of the park. So this is the way I operate. And this is what I learned. So it's basically on the way you talk. People take your confidence seriously. If they can smell it right away. If they hear you talking confidently that you can do it, even they won't test you if you could actually do it. They just want someone with the right confidence and someone that is going to step up to every challenge, because every job, every career, you really know that from the job description, you're going to be facing way different and bigger challenges than you're hired for. So it's not really about what you know or what you do. It's basically your mindset. So if you come in with a confident mindset and you talk confidently and you're a positive person, you're like fire. You get attracted. So this is what I learned in terms of getting a job and in terms of getting clients even.
Yes. I know that. So people are going to hear that and they're not going to, they might, I hope they resonate with it, but my fear is that they're going to hear that and be like, oh, I've heard that a million times. Just be confident. But no, it's not just be confident. And it's not even just fake it till you make it. It has so, and I talk to people about this all the time. It has so much to do with people will lead with whatever energy you give them. So if you're coming into a room or into a conversation and you're coming in with insecure energy and you're acting more sort of like a beta than an alpha in terms of, the pack mentality, right? People are pack animals. We think like that. So if someone is coming in there kind of submissive and afraid, then that person is going to pick up on your energy and they're going to take your lead. But if you go in there, even if you don't know what you're doing and you're calm and you're grounded and you're confident, then they'll assume you know what you're doing. And then it's up to you to kind of connect the dots between, okay, now I've got to actually know what I'm doing so that I can prove myself right, which you've been very good at doing.
Yeah.
I have that conversation with people more often than I can tell you in coaching. So it's something people need to hear is that, your confidence is not something that you have to prove by achieving anything, really. I think it's just a decision I'm just going to act like I know what I'm doing, and then the rest will have to follow. That's just kind of
Yeah,
That's how people work.
It's also beliefs and affirmations. You do have to do inner work.
Sure.
And really grinding your beliefs. You have to really believe in yourself in order to talk confidently. If you don't believe in yourself, people will smell it right away. You have to really do some inner work and, go in front of the mirror, like you would say, and do some affirmations. And you will see it's going to really help. It helps in careers, it helps in marriage, and it helps in everything. It's just, yeah.
So why is it that because you innately have just, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you've always had a lot of confidence. At least, when I met you, you're like mid-20s and you're already a very confident person for the most part. You had a few little like fearful things we had to get over, but for the most part, you're a very self-assured person. So is that just inborn, or where do you think that comes from?
I would say it's a mix, it's a mix. I had I have healthy parents that, with healthy mindsets and that kind of stuff. My grandparents, my parents, just a confident generation. They give over the confidence. That's for sure, I could say. But I had a lot of insecurities. I was an introvert, and a lot of all these things come from, taking one risk after the other. Just, the more I jump into, cold pools, the more resilient I get. So I get a thrill from jumping in cold water. Okay. So when everyone is scared and standing there, when I was in my sleepaway camp, that's what I did every day. So when the water was very cold, I wanted to show everyone that I'm going to fight my fear. So I have that, sort of, it's like a rebellion sort of thing built in.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a lot of challenges, and sometimes I even struggle with it every day. So people hearing this, it's not that you're working at once and then it's good to go. Every single day when I pick up the phone to a client, I still get some shivers and I still get fears, and I have loads of inner work to do every single day. But the more I exercise the muscle, the easier it gets. So That's what I keep on doing.
Another huge thing that I coach people around every time is emotional resilience, or just resilience, period. That a lot of the time, the reason that you're afraid is because you haven't yet proven to yourself that you can survive hard things. And you just have this innate kind of understanding that the more hard things I do, the easier it gets to do hard things. And so it's not a matter of shying away from it. I've got to be the person who literally jumps off into the cold water, literally or metaphorically speaking, when other people are afraid to do it, because that's how I get more resilient. And then that's also how I get ahead. Like, I'm going to be the person people want to hire. I'm going to be the person that a client wants to work with if that's my mentality versus someone else's. So I want to also address one other thing that I feel like is a theme in your story, which is that you do not sit around waiting for things to come to you. You always are looking for an opportunity. And I feel like that has so much to do with why you kind of went from trying to figure out what you wanted to do, making a small amount of money per hour, to kind of climbing this ladder. And then eventually, I think, deciding I don't like the ladder. I want to build my own thing. But in a very short period of time, because most people, you're not even you still have a few years left before you turn 30, right? So so the fact that you've been able to climb and then decide to get off of that ladder in such a short window is kind of amazing. And most people are going to be dumbfounded by that. So I want to hear more about what kind of opportunities you looked for and made for yourself, when you were trying to kind of move up the ladder.
Yeah. Okay. So basically my mentality is, if I don't grow, I feel like I'm dying. Mm-hmm. So since I started adulthood, I got married pretty early. So I was put into this journey of adult life very early on. There's a lot of people listening to the podcast which are most probably going to enter this phase when they're 30. It's like the serious phase of you gotta get done what you want to get done in this world before your chance is over. So people think that they live here forever. It's basically you have 30 to 50 years of your prime time to basically do whatever you got to do. So this is my mindset. And my mindset is just keep on getting to where you want to get and keep on doing things, keep on improving. And that's what I've been doing since I got my job for $13 an hour. Is the same mindset of what's the next thing I could do? Where could I jump next? Like I'm on an island, where can I hop on next? Like if you're playing like a video game, like the Mario Brothers are like jumping from one thing to the next. So that's what I'm constantly doing, trying to level up my happiness, find my financial life, my marriage life, and every aspect of life. That's how every human should operate. You should constantly seeing to strive to get to be better, improve areas of your life, of your business. And it's basically in the mindset. So as you always say, it all starts in the mind. The way your mind is wired, that's what drives all your actions.
Yep. I just feel like there are a lot of people out there who get something and then they just kind of shrug their shoulders and they say, I guess this is as good as it's going to get. And I don't think that's really ever been your mentality. I think you maybe have worried that could be true at some points in your life, but that's not really how you've acted. I mean, I remember one of the things you told me, didn't you just sort of volunteer to build a site for someone, even though you didn't know how to build a website? And that was one of your first experiences, like actually doing that, was that you kind of just taught yourself how to do it. And then all of a sudden that was on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. Right. So you just saw opportunities and you volunteered. And I think you had this attitude of, why not me? Like that person could go to anybody to ask for that, but they're asking me if I can help them. So why wouldn't I learn that? I can probably figure that out. And that's how you create cracks in the door, and then you can push that door open because you're willing to find opportunity where other people might just say, oh, I guess that's not going to work out, or that's not for me.
Yeah. I've had yesterday someone telling me like only crazy people and people that lie make money. I was like, no, that's in your mindset,
Wow.
It's basically people are going around with so much beliefs. Like I look at every human being as sort of a software. So everyone has, as you say, all your gremlins. How do you call it?
Yeah, you're right. Gremlins.
The gremlins, all these beliefs that are in their brains as they're a child or throughout their experiences. And you don't even realize how much beliefs are floating in your brain. And I would say that listening to podcasts, let me just tell you the truth, listening to whatever your podcast or other entrepreneurial, all of these self-help motivational podcasts, they have actually changed my life and the way I think. So whenever I think that it's not possible for me to do, and I hear all these motivational podcasts, I'm like, yes, it's me. And I have a unique ability that no one has. No one can stop me. And this world is free. And this world is completely jam-packed of opportunities for every single human being. Now, once you recognize that and you see that, you just go 1, 2, 3. You just grab bags wherever you go.
That's so funny. I love how you see that as it's almost like a video game. Like, okay, I don't actually play video games, but like Pokemon Go or whatever, it's like one of those games where you go around looking through the lens and you see like little creatures or little rewards everywhere. And I just feel like you go through life seeing it like that. Like that, oh, look, there's a hidden cache of money over here. Or there's a hidden place where I could go up level myself over here and get new points or new abilities. That's just kind of how you live your life.
There's infinite opportunity in every situation. The people are in certain industries, they tell me, hey, I know other industries are great. This industry is just it's a bottleneck. And this is one thing I learned from you with one of the exercises, actually, when I was choosing my options of what to do. I was like, at first, it's like, no, it's just a dead end. The thing that I learned from you is there's so much infinite amount of creativity that you could go vertically and horizontally in every single industry and position. That means even if you're in a full-time job or you're not planning to open your own business or you're in the healthcare industry or wherever it is, there is so many ways. I discovered together with people. I help out people in my community now. I sat down with someone. I came up with 20 different ways of how they could grow their business. It is crazy. So yeah, everyone should be looking out for opportunities and having the right mindset.
So here's a question for you that I wasn't necessarily, it wasn't on my list of things I was thinking about, but as we're talking, this is such a good one because I hear this a lot, especially with people who, like you, like me, have some entrepreneurial desire or, even just a little bit. Maybe they're curious about it, but they haven't explored it yet. But a lot of them think, what is the point? Or why should I bother getting into that? Whether it's coaching, whether it's like UX design and all the stuff that you're into. I mean, they're like, a million other people are doing that. So what is it that I'm going to offer that's different? Or why is it that I should get into this when I feel like the market is already saturated? And I feel like anyone in any job, in any profession, it has that thought sometimes. Like, why would it be me instead of somebody else? So what's your mentality around that? When someone else could do this, but I'm also offering it. So why you?
Very simple. The same reason why someone is going to marry you and not marry the other million people in the world.
Yep.
Okay. Now people look at jobs in a very weird way. They look at it as, there's like 1,000 positions on Indeed for a marketing, what's it called? Say a marketing CTO, a marketing manager. Now you see it, okay, the manager gets a stack of 2,000 resumes, and how are they choosing? I'm just going to be lost. And it's just too much saturation. Now, if we look at a job as a human relationship, now everything changes because the uniqueness of a human being, it can be duplicated. And you know that, Rachel. And I know there's a million life coaches, okay? There's a million life coaches out there, and I would never in a million years choose anyone besides you. Why? Now, here's the reason. Number one is I listened to your podcast. I liked your voice. I liked the way you talk. I like the way you write. Okay. I like the way your humor. I like the titles of your blogs. Okay. Now this unique combination cannot be found anywhere in the world. Is that true?
100% true.
Okay. So now this brings me back to, finding your job and your position. If you represent yourself as a human being and you see a job, joining a team and a movement as part of a human relationship, just like marriage or whatever, then you will completely stand unique. You're not a life coach. You're Rachel. Yeah. There's so much more to a human being. There's so much dynamic. It's like a 3D object that is so unique. Now, if the people, hearing this, you should, if you study that, if you put that into your brain, that will show on your resume. That uniqueness will show on, send a video resume, show your personality. Now people hire on personality 80% and on talent 20%. Just know that. So personality can be duplicated. It cannot be duplicated even if you have the same exact skills as the next person. It can never be duplicated. So the hiring manager is a human being. They're going to resonate with your eyes. Simple. Nothing to do with your resume. So if you stand that as a human, you try to make a human relationship instead of a career relationship. Boom. It's going to just be on fire.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to say it better than that. Like, if you're not convinced, I don't know how to help you at this point. But I really first of all, I love the idea of a video resume. Or a video cover letter or something. Even if they're not asking for it. I love the idea of okay, here's my resume, but instead of a cover letter, I'm going to upload a video of me giving you a 2-minute talk about who I am and why you should hire me. I mean, what a brilliant idea. I'd literally never thought of that. I've seen that people have asked sometimes in the hiring process for a video introduction of you, but I've never thought about sending it unsolicited. So there you go. See? You're full of ideas that other people don't necessarily have to make yourself stand out.
Another little tip with the people looking for jobs. I know one of the best things that Rachel and your platform supports, and a lot of other entrepreneurial platforms don't support, is you guys don't push to open your own business over having a full-time job.
Right.
This is a mind-blowing discovery that I had when I
I remember that.
When I reached you, I was always under this impression that people that are more successful, that are on the more successful edge of the ladder, are usually own their own business. Okay? what I learned from you guys, is the people that are successful are the people that are more happy. Now, you can be very, very successful and content and living your life to its fullest in a full-time job. This is what I learned from Rachel as I was coaching with her. So that's a crazy discovery. And discovery number 2 is when people are looking for a job, it's like a sale. So if you have to actually go to people and sample to them like, hey, I could add value to your team. Check me out. This is me. If you're just going to sit there and try to submit resumes passively, okay, and then you're going to come and say, after 2 months, I'm job hunting for years, I can't find a job, okay, it's not going to be that successful. The way is you should be targeting, you find a company that interesting and you find the company that you want to join, you start hooking up with their internal people on LinkedIn, Instagram. You start hooking up with them. Not that you need a job. You tell them, okay, I want to come down for a visit. It sounds like you have a cool office. Could I come by? And these people are so lonely. The people that are sitting within a corporation, they want this connection. They want people coming to visit them. They want to have friends. Now, if you go try to get into a company in that approach, it's a bit of a scary and proactive and extrovert type of approach.
Mm-hmm.
But I would really recommend for you to do that. So let's say you have a focus on 3 to 4 companies that you want to snatch a job by, and you just focus, keep on hooking up. There's like 100 people working in the offices over there. You just keep on hooking up with the marketing guy, with the technology guy. Just keep on hooking up with them. Stop by for a visit, and you'll see it's just like a no-brainer. Hope that helped.
So first of all, I love that, because again, I'm just thinking about how many people would hear that and be like, oh, I could never do that. I don't want to bother people. So what do you say when you hear that? Like, I don't want to bother someone. Like, you don't have a problem bothering people. So what's your mentality around that?
Mentality is very simple. The person that you think is getting bothered is sitting on their desk and crying out of loneliness.
Yeah, I think that you do. This is so funny, but it's not. It's true. I mean, we can't know for sure, but I think that you're making the assumption. So a lot of people, they're defaulting to making the assumption that the other person is really busy and that they're content and that you're just going to be an interruption in their day and they don't want to deal with you. And you're making the assumption that everyone is a person and that people have needs. And and sometimes those needs aren't getting met for social connection, or that they haven't helped anyone in a while. And maybe they'd actually get some sort of fulfillment out of helping you, or out of hanging out with you, or having a conversation with you. So again, you're looking for the opportunity. You're not looking for reasons to say no. You're looking for reasons to say yes, or to have somebody else say yes.
Yep, very true. 100%.
So, okay, now I want to get back to you. I love how this is supposed to be a normal person interview, but like I suspected, it's turned into a little bit of a blend between that and expert, because you have a ton of expertise and you can't contain it, and I wouldn't want you to.
Thank you.
So I do want to get to the kind of point in your journey where you and I started working together, and some of the things that you were struggling with at that time, some of the beliefs. One of the biggest ones I can remember was that you had a real fear, and this is totally understandable, when you've been the young dad making $13 an hour, and now you're a dad, and at that point, 3 little boys, a wife, a family, like you're a serious person with a serious job and you're making good money, but yet you're not fulfilled, and you have that entrepreneurial zeal, and the temptation to leave is big, but you have a ton of responsibility. And so, you had a lot of fears about that. And a lot of stories about, like, could I do that? What would it mean if I did that? So I want to hear more about your mentality at that, like kind of when we first met a year ago.
Oh, wow. That was a pivotal moment. So yes, I had a very secure, 9 to 5, and making a very nice, I won't disclose the amounts, but I was making more than a lot of, people making in their entire life. So I was making a very stable income, and I was supporting my family. So And yet on the other side, I felt very empty and very unhappy. So I was like, I got to get out of this. I don't care how much money I make. Okay. So that's why I reached out to you, because I was in such a trap that I needed to leave, but I had all these beliefs and these mindset issues that were holding me back. So that's exactly what I needed, someone to work through and bust my beliefs. And basically, I think the main fear you diagnosed me with is that I was too successful until then.
Yeah.
That I never had a failure, something like that.
Not a big enough failure. You think you'd had little ones, but it was like, yeah, you lived this whole life just being this opportunist who went after things and often succeeded. And so you had never proven to yourself that you could withstand a massive failure. And you were very afraid of what would happen if there was a massive failure.
Yeah. So the worst case scenario, all these things, all these exercises, I was writing down like what could happen. What is the worst monstrous case scenario? I was really afraid of all these things were like playing out in my brain. If I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to find clients. I'm not going to make a dime. And then I'm going to have to sell my house. And I'm going to have to lose everything. So I was very fearful. And the work with you was basically to bust the fears and to talk to the fears, talk to it like a small child. That's what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like the inner little child that is always in my brain saying, don't do it, stay safe, stay in your job. And you're just going to be way, way fearful. Now, I have all my other friends were telling me, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. You should know. And as I was going out of my job that week, from when I gave notice until when I went out, I was just getting fearful, more and more fearful. So I was just I was just fighting it with mindset and gushing my brain with that kind of adrenaline, fighting the gremlin. Yeah.
As confident as you are, there were multiple times I remember you emailed me being like, I don't think I can do this. I don't know. Can I really I have a date on my calendar. I think I'm going to do it. But you were really I think it'll make people feel better to know that even you are capable of getting freaked out when you're about to make a really big move.
Yeah, it was one of that's why I needed a coach. I did a lot of crazy moves in life, but this move of actually going in and giving my notice, it was a half a year of inner work.
Yep. Yeah. So I would like to hear, what are some of so you had this, again, I think the big belief, if the overarching belief was, I don't trust myself. I don't trust that I'm going to be successful, or I don't know what's going to happen if I fail. So this uncertainty was holding you back. But I want to hear, are there any, I think there were some smaller beliefs that you had to bust too. And I'm curious if any of those come to mind when I ask, what are some of the smaller beliefs that you feel like you had to get over in order to be able to make that leap?
Yeah. So there was a lot of beliefs in terms of my particular situation. The belief was most people that, open their own businesses, shut it down.
Yeah.
That was a belief. Belief number 2 was, in my industry, there's a cap of how much you can make as a freelancer. Number 2 is I don't know. It was just, it was these small beliefs that I had in my brain, and I proved them all wrong. Every single one. So that's what I still do it till today.
Of course. Well, you're still doing it. That's kind of life, right? Is that you're always going to be, if you're living a good life, maybe that's a definition of what a good life is that you're constantly proving yourself wrong.
Yes, I constantly question myself, and because I see other people, the way they talk to me, they're very opinionated and they're so into their beliefs, and they won't even give a chance to think hey, maybe it's just because you have this belief as a child, or maybe because you had a certain assumption or experience. They don't even give themselves this doubt. Now, this is a key to success. Now, when I have this, I sometimes I treat myself as a life coach. So I zoom out of my brain. Okay, this is a great exercise. I'm going to give you this. I'm in a certain situation. I'm stuck. I'm depressed. Something's going. I'm feeling crazy. A client or something. I'm having an issue. I go out of my brain and I act like a helicopter, okay? And I observe my brain from the outside and look at myself like I see myself as a third person. I'm like, okay, he's getting very agitated now. Okay, he's feeling fearful. Okay, I write it down. And then I approach myself like a doctor, like, hey, like a mental doctor. Okay, so Nussi is going through this now. And because of this and this happened, okay, we see. Now we craft a solution. And now I'm able to craft myself a solution in a emotional situation. I think you have a lot of podcasts
oh, sure.
That. Yeah.
I don't even know which ones I could point to, but that's just that right there. Your ability to do that is a huge part of why you've been able to be successful and why you don't stagnate and why you continually grow. And I think it's one of the hallmarks of someone who's an evolved person is that they can see themselves as two separate entities. You know, they can see themselves as the person going through the experience, and they can see themselves as the person observing the person going through the experience.
Bullseye.
And I think this is a good indication for people. Usually the more afraid you are, like the more intense your fear, the harder it is to separate you from the experience that you're having. And so I think that a good question for people is, if you're in a situation or you're in a moment where it literally feels like what you're going through is true and that there's no other interpretation for it and that you are this experience, that's a good indication that you're in a really stressed out or a really fearful situation, and that actually it's probably not even a very accurate one. Because when you're able to get a step back and actually observe your situation, that's when you're usually in a more calm and grounded and evolved place. And that's usually the more accurate take, is when you're able to kind of, like you said, lift up out of yourself and see yourself. So if you're not even capable of doing that, don't make any decisions when you're in that place. Don't try to make any progress when you're in that place. Wait until you can actually kind of see yourself from another vantage point. And you're very, very good at doing that. Yeah, natural coach. I don't even think you need to go be trained as a coach. So I wouldn't be surprised if you decided to do it one day just for the heck of it, because you already think so much like a coach every day.
Yeah.
So, all right, they're going to want to hear, and I want to hear too, what happened when you quit?
So I did it gradually. You know, I had a client, I think right when I started coaching. So I took a semi jump. I wasn't a complete, tumbling down the building.
Yeah.
When I quit I gave my notice, and then I started completely being myself, on social media. I started attracting people, telling them what I'm going to be doing. For the first time, I had a real voice. Until then, I was always behind a corporation, so I couldn't really talk. I was scared my manager is going to see and that I have ideas, and my boss is going to think that I'm going to leave, and all that kind of fears. I was just, coming out to the world and saying, hey, this is me. This is my face. This is my personality. And this is how I want to start helping out businesses for a living. You have to be really, realistic how you're going to be making money. It's not like I'm just trying to make the world a better place and all that kind of hot fluff. So I worked hard on, to make myself a website, to make myself videos on LinkedIn. I made a firm, commitment to do daily content on LinkedIn, and I'm on there for 8 months, posting every single day. And I've been seeing very great traction from the long run. And I've been focusing only on one platform. I'm making masterminds these days with freelancers. I do some other stuff. I do consulting for, softwares. I see different opportunities. I take it upon. I try it out. I see if it works. And I do have my core business, UX design for software, for apps. And I keep on attracting these kind of clients. I'm not saying that it's not hard. It's still very hard, with running a business, but I just love the adrenaline of that. I love the fear of like, hey, I'm not having money this month and then getting a client. It's just so thrilling versus sitting in your cubicle and getting your beautiful paycheck and seeing the direct deposit email every Monday. That's in my personal opinion. So it's basically just adrenaline of going, outreach, sales, marketing. I have to market myself. I have to, convince people to, to pay me money. It's not just a job of doing your work. So of having your own business, you know how it works. You have to keep the lights on, get the clients in, but it's a real, so that's what my basic journey was, going out on social media, giving free value, attracting leads that way, and converting some of the leads into clients.
I think that you're making a good point right now to kind of bring this back to passion profile, which it should be obvious by now that you're a pretty big Firestarter type. Just so entrepreneurial. And you love, you run off of that adrenaline and the thrill of not knowing where your money's coming from. I know there's some Thrivers and Tribe members who are like, I can't relate to that at all, which is fine if you don't relate to that. But the point is that, ironically, I think that whatever you do, when you're in alignment with who you are and how, and the best way to work for you, which for you is the adrenaline, is the not knowing where your money's coming from, you're actually safer in that realm than you are when you're getting a steady paycheck, at least for you, because getting the steady paycheck was really sapping your energy. You weren't meant to be caged in that way. You were meant to be the kind of person who was in charge of his own destiny and who could figure out for himself, where I want to go, what do I want to do, what do I want to work, who do I want my clients to be. You have more energy and motivation when you're working for yourself than when you are for someone else, which means you have more potential. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's more risk, but because you have more energy and excitement, there's also a much, much, much greater chance of reward ultimately than there is when you're accepting what looks like safety, but really isn't, because you weren't ever going to exceed your own expectations there. And you really weren't going to perform to the best of your ability there either.
Yep. 100%.
So I think that's a really good just thing for people to think about, is challenge the notion of what safety means. Because on the front, it can look like one thing. It can look like having enough money, obviously, being able to provide for yourself. Those are important things, but that ultimately safety is also, am I doing something that's aligned with who I am so that I have the best actual chance of success in the long run?
Yeah.
And often we're trading that in for what we think is safety in the short term. So, and you know what? Guess what? You seem to still not be homeless, and your family is not destitute. All those fears you had haven't come to be true, have they?
No, yeah. None of the worst case scenarios actually happened. I was really scared it's going to happen, for real.
I know, I remember. But now that you've had some time, because how long ago was it that you officially quit?
This is 8 months, 9 months.
So, we're coming up on a year by the time this will be next month. So yeah, 9 or 10 months by the time people hear this. Now that you've had that time to prove to yourself that you can do it, do you still have the same fears that the same worst case scenarios, or have your fears changed?
Completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
I have brand new beliefs, it's a brand new system, but it's a system. It's still a gremlin system, but it's completely swapped out. It means when I was in a full-time job, I had certain beliefs, mindsets, assumptions that when I came to you, when we started coaching, and they are completely flushed out. They are irrelevant. And now it's a brand new, it's on a higher, an improved, way more improved level. So it's now my fear is will I make, this amount?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's way better.
So that's a good point though, is that your fears will evolve with you. And that the goal is not to get rid of your fear. It's just
never going to end. It's always going to be.
No, of course. And you need fear.
You're a human.
Yeah. Right. You don't want to have no fear, because fear to a degree is good. It keeps you safe. It makes sure you don't actually jump off of a cliff or jump into, ice water that's going to actually kill you, not just cold water. But yeah, the smarter you get, the more evolved you get, your fears will kind of evolve with you. And that's fine, because then it just gives you a new challenge to work through. Yeah. Keeps things interesting, I hope, for you.
Always have to be ready to, inspect yourself, live up to your happiness, and not settle. Never settle. Always try to improve as a human being. A human being is so dynamic, as we said before. You have so much potential, and that means you're constantly moving up in quantity and quality in every single aspect of life. And this is what is my journey from now until when I hit the ground.
Yep, exactly. I love that. Well, so as we're wrapping up, is there anything you haven't said to people that you want to kind of leave them with the last little bit of advice, or, this is your time. So what do you want to tell people if nothing else?
Okay. Let me think. Let me make it really strategic. So
Okay.
I want to tell people that they should stop looking at, other people and social media noise and all that kind of stuff. They should be looking into themselves, into their feelings, and try to see what is making them happy and what is making them sad as a human being. Okay. And you should be taking away all the external factors. That means marriage, career, location, religion, everything. Take it away and strip everything down and start examining exactly what gets you going as a human being. Now, a human being is a machine. It's a computer, it's a hardware, it's a software. It's your machine that's going to take you through your life and strip everything away, all your external situations. Take yourself out of this world for I don't know, for 30 minutes and start thinking what are I think the core desire feelings. What gets you going and what makes you sad and all that kind of stuff, and get down a list of things that you want and start aligning your externals with the things that you want to feel like. And you will start seeing that your happiness level will maintain and continue to grow every single day. And that should be your goal. Your goal as a human being should be to go through your days happy. That's it. Your goal should not be money, cars, or houses, or whatever. I don't care what it is, or to eat food. It should just be happiness. And happiness comes with emotional feeling. And, there's a list of like 30 feelings, I think. There's not much. So human beings have in common that they have these 30 feelings that they keep on wanting. They don't want to get a job. No, they don't want that. They want a certain feeling. They don't want to get married. They want a certain feeling. So know what you want to feel and know what makes you happy, and align everything you do towards to feel those goals. And the goal should be happiness. Forget about career, forget about jobs, forget about everything. So that's what I want to leave. If you want to follow some more content, that I put a lot of content. I'm only to be found on LinkedIn. Look me up. My name is Nussi Einhorn, and just connect with me, and I'm available there. And I'm going to be speaking a lot about, Rachel's movement. It has actually transformed my life. So as now we're coming to a year of after I coach with Rachel, I'm going to be amping up my talking about the passion profiles and all that kind of stuff. I'm really passionate about it. And yes, it's great. Rachel, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. This was so great. And I will link to your LinkedIn page so that people can find you. And they should know that if they want to connect with you, they will not be bothering you, right? Like, they got to act like you, which is, if you want to connect with someone, just make it happen.
Exactly. Do it. Get up your
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Some of you might have heard us mention this last week, but in case you missed it, we want to give you a heads up that next Friday, June 19th, we are opening back up our coaching enrollment, which means we're taking on a select number of new clients. We do this about 3 times a year, so it's probably not going to happen again for several more months, not till probably fall.
October, mid to late October. But again, I don't tend to decide things that far ahead.
Well, a lot depends on what happens between now and then, too.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. We'll get into that more next Friday in our episode.
Yes. But if you are interested in working with us one-on-one, then definitely check out the one-on-one coaching page of our site. We link to it in the episode description, where you can read about it ahead of time. And then we will email you next Friday to let you know, okay, we're taking forms now for people who want to talk to us about coaching. When you submit a form, that's not saying, I'm definitely doing this. It's saying, I'm pretty interested. Let's chat. So go check that out. See if you might be interested. And then we'll be back next Friday to tell you doors are open for enrollment.
We'll also be back on Tuesday with a new Magic 8 Ball episode. which I don't know what it's going to be. What I like about Magic 8 Ball episodes is that it gives me a chance to go back and remind myself of all the content I've forgotten about.
I know. I enjoy that.
I think it's actually going to be your turn to choose something. So you be thinking about what you want to bring back now.
Well, we'll all figure it out together.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Bye.